The Real Monsters, Alien's 8th episode. The xenomorph is shown exploring the forest at the start of Earth. It is good for the soldiers scattered over the island, however it doesn't eat certain crabs. Dame Sylvia is one of them. She visits the cemetery site to honor the children. She doesn't, however, expect the xenomorph to ambush her. She is saved, however, when soldiers arrive and successfully shoot it. What is Wendy's decision regarding the hybrids? The situation on Prodigy Island is becoming worse, but the Xeno is still alive. By jamming their satellites and destroying the underwater trunk connection, Yutani has cut off their communications. Although all necessary staff have been removed from the island, together, the hybrids are housed in a confinement chamber. After talking about the ramifications of being children in adult bodies, Wendy recommends that they band together and fight back against Prodigy. Since they don't know how it will hold up, Adamines doesn't think it's a smart idea to put the youngsters in this group. Additionally, he is concerned about their understaffing. Meanwhile, out on the field, the Xeno is killing soldiers one by one. However, Wendy pushes Boy Cavalier to evacuate, even though he refuses. Wendy makes the decision to speak with the xenomorph in order to escape this situation. The enemy hears her running back to headquarters from the woods, and all the gadgets are turned off instantly. How does Morrow fare? Morrow wakes up in Joe's cell back in containment. Wendy is furious that he shot Nibs and is watching him on the monitors. However, Smee tells her that he is one of them. With a metal can on his arm acting as a weapon and one man watching over him, Morrow breaks open the door with ease, knocks the guard unconscious, and resumes his plan where he left off. Kirsch is working on some electronics in the lab during all of this. When Morrow walks in the front door, the two end up fighting. However, Morrow easily subdues Kirsch, so it's not much of a struggle. But something erupts when he fires one of the glass cages. Somehow, Kirsch chokes Morrow out and renders him unconscious. Wendy simply snaps a finger to open the door as Cavalier descends to view the hybrids. Cavalier talks about how he took over the company for himself after killing his own father when he was 6 years old. In addition to having obvious ADHD, he has always had father issues. Unfortunately, the hybrids are too strong for the lone guard he is with, and they quickly eliminate him before forcing Cavalier to flee. In order to identify the many characters and mediate the situation, Wendy divides the group up and they play a game of hide-and-seek. What takes place on the island? Smee and Slightly are assigned to go to the lab, where they restrain Kirsch and render Morrow comatose. While Wendy pursues Boy Cavalier, Nibs goes to see Dame Sylvia. But it's a trap, he has Adamines bring Joe to him. Ocellus pursues Joe after removing the sheep CA. While Wendy has Dame Sylvia, Morrow, Boy Cavalier, Kirsch, and Adamines within the containment cell, Yutani arrives with a group of soldiers prepared to launch an aerial assault. In addition, the xenomorph is present, simply loitering like Spider-Man. As Wendy makes the decision that they will now rule over them, the camera pans into her face. The review of the episode. Thus, Alien, Earth commits the greatest sin of all as it draws to a close. Everyone's time is wasted because there is no answer. It's aggravating that nothing has been decided yet, even though I understand that Noah Hawley and the writers desire a 4-season storyline and that viewership has been respectable enough to support that. Even worse, none of the storylines or character arcs have any real depth. The xenomorph might have attacked and killed those soldiers and saved Wendy, but we made a hard cut away from the ship. Rather, she allows herself to be captured along with the others, who are all held together in these enormous cells for some reason, and then they all break out with ease. By the end of the episode, Wendy actually acts like Neo from the Matrix. She can use her pet Xeno to hack communications and obtain what she is able to manipulate androids, escape jails with ease, and essentially portray herself as a powerful hero with few limitations. Not to mention her extraordinary speed and strength. She embodies the ideal Mary Sue. I can't say I'm surprised, though, because that is consistent with Disney's reputation. Although we get glimpses of an internal conflict that could have been fascinating to watch unfold, the writers choose to ignore all of it, which makes her incredibly dull to watch and infuriating. However, the eyeball ocellus monster, the most impressive creature in the entire episode, finally gets to do anything. However, we don't know what occurs after that because we cut to black. The episode is likewise rife with problems and contradictions. Morrow's whole capture was foolish in the first place, but now they leave him in a cell with Joe, unrestrained and watched by a single person who has a possible weapon in his hand. He was going to bolt out that door without any problems, of course. Every major story point in the series is contrived by stupid individuals making stupid choices to advance the plot, which essentially sums up the shoddy writing. However, because we wind up with no explanations, no resolutions, and a corny one-liner from Wendy, forward might not be the best word in this situation. Alien, Earth has a lot of intriguing concepts, but none of them have been thoroughly examined or presented in a way that would make for fascinating television. This program has a lot of potential, but it fails miserably in every way, which is really frustrating.